Hello to my friends and colleagues in the Southeastern Synod. It's that time again. The new Lutheran Quarterly is out, the summer edition. I found these articles particularly uplifting, and they reminded me of what a great theological heritage we are the beneficiaries of. I commend this edition to you wholeheartedly. The first article is by Mark D. Trabnick. And it's called Martin Luther and the Flow of Faith. You'll find this one particularly interesting if you're a fan of language or a student of language, metaphor. It explores Luther's metaphorical use of water imagery to explain what happens in salvation, in particular how God's love and grace flow from God to us, turning us into a conduit, so to speak, for God's love, grace, and mercy, which then is intended to flow from us to our neighbor. Great article exploring that metaphorical use of language there. Also by Tobias Jammerthal, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. An article following Melanchthon's changing attitude towards what was initially called Bucer's Confession, but ended up being called the Formula of Concord, and how, particularly around the Diet of Schmalkald, Melanchthon begins to transition from considering that document a step in the right direction towards concord and communion, to eventually naming it as a foundational pillar, of course, of agreement on Eucharistic theology. Wonderfully written historical article there about how communion came to be. Also, Timothy Wangert appears in this edition with an article called Martin Luther's Great Surprise, translating the New Testament. It focuses on the opposition that arose to Luther's translation, in particular some of his prefaces and glosses. The author takes the view there that it was Luther's humanist inclinations that emboldened him to be able to include some of these prefaces and glosses, and also to create a hierarchy of authority within Scripture, and so much as Luther did, by embracing books like John and Romans, and perhaps not having so much to do with books like James. And there's a lengthy discussion in the article about Luther's attitude towards James and what it was and what it wasn't. As part of that article, Emory University blesses us with this woodcut depicting one of the scenes from Revelation and how that was included in Luther and others' translations of the Bible. I commend this article to you wholeheartedly in this whole edition. Please get a copy of it either physically or on the website for the Lutheran Quarterly. I know it'll be a blessing to you as it was to me. Thank you for listening.